The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting it to yield new results. And I feel like we're getting into the point of insanity with this whole Canelo, baby, you want baby, and Crawford talk. I just don't get it at this point. So the Porter Way podcast, Sean Porter featuring Sean Zelle, boxing reporter, they interviewed Terence Crawford. And this is fresh off the heels of the Madrimov win. Became a 4-division champion. It was a brand new champion. In my opinion, I've said what I believe, which is that Crawford did not light the world on fire with the performance versus Madrimov. Did he win? Yes. The judges gave it to him. Close fight, whatever. So he won, but he didn't set the world on fire with the performance. It was not something, in my opinion, that screamed, bring on Canelo 2 more divisions up from what I just competed and had a very difficult fight, so to speak. Let me move up some more weight class. It wasn't that type of, like, you were never probably going to get that from a Madrimov. Nobody wanted to see the fight in terms of, like, nobody like requested the fight. Nobody that I know was like, hey, this is the fight, the number one fight I want to see Bud Crawford in. I legit didn't see anyone say that. So you were never going to probably get like full credit because it wasn't a must-see attraction that people had been requesting, like Mayweather Pacquiao or Canelo versus Triple G or whoever. So essentially, since it's not a fight that the fans put up and put on the platter, you were always going to be limited into how much credit you would get for fighting an 11-fight guy that the world hadn't known about. But that's my opinion. I really strongly believe it. Nonetheless, Crawford is doing this interview with Porter Way podcast. He says, quote, if it's all business, you're doing good business. I heard him say that I'm easy work. If I'm easy, you would take all the money that Turki Alalshikh is offering you, yet he wants $200 million to fight Benavidez and $150 million to fight me. I mean, bro, what are we talking about? Now, so many problems with, like, when Crawford says like a few sentences, you can find like a lot of things that aren't quote unquote right with what he's saying. He's saying, if I'm easy work, you would take the money that Turki Alalshikh is offering you. The one problem with that, I've already made a video about it. Turki Alalshikh said that he is no longer interested in making the fight because whatever reason. He said he changed his mind. I've already went over it. Reports also came out that shows that Terence Crawford fight was a failure financially. So on top of not setting the world on fire and probably being in too tough, given the fact of you're Crawford and no one knew this 11-fight Madrimov guy, and the fight was, you know, tooth and nail and hard fought at 154. And on top of it, it wasn't a financial success. And he's saying you should just take the money. Canelo should take the money. What money? Canelo says that Turki never sent him an offer. And he said that Turki wanted to link up. Just listen to what people are telling you. Turki at the Crawford-Madrimov fight said he already sent Canelo an offer, right? But then Canelo said at the Berlanga, they were trying to meet with me to discuss a fight, and I told him no. So how did you send him an offer, and then after you wanted to set up a meeting to which Canelo rejected the meeting? That doesn't really make sense. So more than likely, they had maybe drew up an offer that they were going to send it to Canelo, and maybe they wanted to pitch the idea to him. But Canelo says, I'm fighting Berlanga. That's my focus. My full focus is on the opponent and the task at hand. So I don't want to meet with you. So for Terence Crawford, he's saying you would take the money that Turki's offering you. He's not offering anything because Canelo rejected the meeting. And then after he rejected the meeting, obviously Turki felt slighted or whatever you want to say, and he called it off and publicly said, this thing is over. I'm no longer offering him a fight, blah, blah, blah. I've already went over this stuff. So why is Crawford like in a way kind of like begging Canelo Alvarez for a fight at this point? It's really, really bizarre. It doesn't seem like this fight is meant to be. And in case you guys don't believe me, here it is. Turki said, I heard what Canelo says and he respects me, blah, blah, blah. So he's low-key kind of even beefing with Canelo Alvarez at this point. And he's saying the offer is off, things like that. So why is Crawford even still talking about Turki Alalshikh's offer to Canelo based on the fight losing over $10 million, they said, and your performance? I don't think people are chomping at the bit for that particular fight. A lot of people are saying, hey, that's a step too far. It's a bridge too far. Canelo has potentially like peaked at 147 and 154 might be his ceiling. Definitely not 168. And in case you guys didn't believe me, here it is. Turki Alalshikh says, just wrapped up an important meeting now with my team, planning for the upcoming fights we will make for 2024 through 2025. I decided to disregard the Canelo fight as I don't want it anymore. Why? It looks bad. Why is Crawford even talking about the Canelo fight when your Saudi advisor, Turki, has already publicly withdrew his offer, and I just showed you on tape? I don't understand it. So you're just going to keep calling out Canelo and like beg for a payday? And that I like, now I understand why Canelo be like, payday, you want payday? I know that. As far as the 200 mil for Benavidez, we already know Canelo should be fighting Benavidez. Canelo did in passing say something about 150 to fight Crawford. I've already went over it, bro. The reporter suggested, oh, what about 100 mil? And then Canelo said, make it 150. And then he walked off. So I'm not going to take, I don't really take that seriously unless it was like a dedicated interview and he was like, I won't fight Crawford. Like what he's saying about Benavidez. He's saying he's not fighting Benavidez if he don't get 200 million. That's like, and there's multiple interviews where Canelo said this. This one clip that everyone keeps sharing, Canelo at best said it in passing, but it's neither here nor there because Turki is taking shots at Canelo. Canelo declined his offer to meet with him. So we don't even have a negotiation to even crunch numbers or to get to the 150 mil or not. And again, like I've been saying, based on Crawford's performance, you can look at the comment sections. You can listen to what people are saying. It did not light the world on fire to the point where people are like, yo, I want to see Crawford move up even more weight to fight Canelo. But Terence Crawford says, so that just lets me know I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to his legacy because it would be crazy for a guy like myself that started at 135 to come all the way up to your weight at 168, your weight, not a catch weight, none of that, and dethrone you. So he's got that in the back of his head. This guy, for one, he's tough. For two, he's a boxer. He moves. He could punch. He could do it all. I can't slip up and lose to this little guy. Then what will my fans think of me? What will my Mexican fans think of me? This is what Crawford is saying. Bro, I'm trying my best to make this as simple as possible. He says, in closing, so it's a big risk for him. Like I said, he doesn't get anything out of it. None of those guys were the pound for pound best fighters in the world that he fought when they were coming up in weight. None of these guys. Again, Crawford feeling himself. So let's try this again. I totally and completely understand why Canelo would be hesitant to fight a guy who is undersized per the division he currently fights at. Right? Crawford is listing fights like Amir Khan. Right? He said Amir Khan, some other people, right? Floyd Mayweather, and he said Jermell Charlo, I think. But here's the deal. You're talking to someone who really knows boxing. I know my stuff. Amir Khan was at 147. Canelo fought him at 155. So that was one division below him. Wasn't a good fight. I protested that fight too. I was like, I don't see it. Amir Khan don't even have a chin at 35-40. Canelo's going to destroy him. So I'm not even going to rehash that. I don't know why Canelo picked that person. I guess at the time he was with Golden Boy. I went to that fight. He's basically was like, Amir Khan got a name. I'm going to fight him. Whatever. Amir Khan's begging Mayweather and Pacquiao can't get those fights. So he wants a big fight. We'll fight him. So the fight was made. He got destroyed. You know, Khan was doing pretty good. Then the end, Khan jumped in, and was asleep. So Amir Khan, that fight was like I covered it. I was in Vegas for that. It was literally the first boxing event at the T-Mobile Arena, and now they got a Sphere. So that was a long time ago because, again, that was the first fight in boxing at that venue. So whatever that was, I want to say 2016, maybe somewhere around there. It was a minute ago. That's almost 10 years ago. So Crawford's referencing whatever Canelo did like 8 years ago or whatever. That's kind of weird. The Amir Khan fight, I don't know why it happened, but again, that's only one division. Floyd Mayweather was a champion, and he's a guy at 47. He had just beaten Robert Guerrero. Then he fought Canelo, who had been calling him out. They fought at a catchweight in 2013. So again, we're talking about fights like decades old that you're referencing. And Mayweather was one division beneath him. The problem for Crawford is he just moved to 154. Canelo has been at 168. You understand there's 147, 154, 160. And then 168. These are not the same by naming Floyd Mayweather and Amir Khan. Because, again, those are just guys underneath. That's like Andre Ward. He moved up, acclimated with 2 tune-ups. Then he fought Kovalev at 75. That type of move up happens pretty frequently, right? Because it's just one division. Usyk, he was a cruiserweight, undisputed guy. He became cruiserweight, undisputed, moved up to heavyweight. Now he's undisputed heavyweight. So nobody would be tripping if you were at 160. If you had, like Usyk got several cruiserweight fights and then he just moved up to heavyweight, no one would be tripping. The problem is with Crawford, and it's like mind-boggling that people try to make this more complex than it is he's a guy who spent his career at 35-40. Then he got a slew of fights at 47, one fight at 54, no fights at 160, and then you're talking about moving to 168. What don't you understand about that? We're not talking about somebody skipping the 7th grade and going straight to the 8th grade. We're talking about somebody like in the 5th grade going straight to the 8th grade. That's a different conversation. As far as Jermell Charlo, that is still not as accurate because Jermell Charlo has a history of fights at 154. He became undisputed at 154. That's what they marketed the fight at with Canelo. So even Jermell has done more at 154 than Crawford because Crawford hasn't been undisputed at 154. So we're just simply talking about weight. Some people will be like, oh, but Crawford got better skills. Okay, then do what Jermell Charlo did and run through 154-pound division with all the consecutive names that he, like Castano twice, and, you know, guys like Hatley, guys like Austin Trout, guys like Rosado, guys like Vanes Martirosyan, you know, do what he did and prove yourself with Jason Rosario's and, you know, all these guys. And then you move up to Canelo, it'll be a different conversation. Canelo is at 68, 2 fights at 175. Crawford has 1 fight at 154, and it was decently tough. It was pretty tough for you. These are completely different things. Now, he's trying to beg, in my opinion, for the Canelo fight by saying stuff like, oh, I'm pound for pound, and I got ESPYs, and I got these accolades. So let me get this straight. Using Terence Crawford's logic, how come the people that are pushing for Crawford to fight Canelo aren't pushing for Naoya Inoue versus Gervonta Davis? It's a very similar situation. And notice Boxing Ego, the king of consistency, said the same thing. You have not known me on my channel because I'm old school and I'm consistent. You have not known me to be pushing for Tank versus Inoue, because it's a foolish fight that is likely not going to happen. If Inoue keeps moving up and then he moves up and then it finally gets there, so be it. But that would be gradually and it would be over time. But right now, for Inoue to just jump up and go straight to lightweight, he getting cooked. So again, your boy Ego is very consistent when it comes to this boxing. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people that say Naoya Inoue is pound for pound number 1. You know, it's between Crawford, Usyk, and Inoue on most people's list in terms of like the top couple guys, right? So it's the same concept. All the bud buddies that want Crawford to bypass all these divisions and move up to fight Canelo, I guarantee you if they like Naoya Inoue, they're not telling him to move up to fight Gervonta Davis at 135, because again, weight classes exist for a reason. And I think Crawford knows that, which is why you don't hear Terence Crawford calling out anybody at 168 except for Canelo Alvarez. That part. Call out David Morrell. He could probably still make 68. Call out David Benavidez and say you want to fight David Benavidez. When Floyd Mayweather told Crawford he should fight David Benavidez, the Bud Buddies gasped. Oh, Floyd's a hater. Floyd is such a hater. He wants Crawford to fight David Benavidez. So if that sounds so ridiculous to you, then what's the difference? It's just a weight class. So let me get this straight. Crawford can fight one and only one guy at 168, and he just happens to be the cash cow. That's what I'm saying. Crawford don't want to put no work in at 60 or 68 or really even at 54. He wants the work that he's already put in at 35 and 40 and 47. And let me tell you, the work at 47 was not the greatest names up until Errol Spence. And you think that's just going to translate into being the boss and telling Canelo what to do and getting the golden ticket? Morrell wants to fight Canelo. Benavidez wants to fight Canelo. I'm sure Bevo would fight him in a rematch, or Better Biev, the winner of that, would fight Canelo. Everybody wants to fight Canelo. You see what I'm saying? Crawford sounds very entitled. He was like, oh, you know, why don't you just take the money? Because Canelo is rich. He don't have to take Turki's money because you want the fight. He's making a lot of money fighting whoever he's fighting. And again, the reality is, if you really are unbiased and you look at this situation with weights and all things considered, Crawford just lost $10 million with Madrimov. Who even said that that's a big fight? To me, it's a curiosity fight. People respect Crawford, respect Canelo, so they just want to see if he can do it, you know? But there's not that many people that are probably going to pay top dollar or bet all their life savings on Crawford coming up to not look good or win some rounds or show he's competitive, but to actually win and get it on the scorecard and or knock out Canelo. You didn't even knock out Madrimov. So it's like, what are we talking about? You'd be at a max deficit, and in my opinion, Crawford would have to fight very cautiously and like pick his spots. He can't do the, you hit me with the hard shot and I want to instantly jump on you and retaliate, because you would be moving up to 2 more weight classes, and that would be extremely dangerous. So I don't really see the allure outside of the fact that it's 2 names, but I don't really care about 2 names, especially when there's good fights with Crawford and like Boots, for example. And it's not as much of a stretch. It's not as forced. It's just something that seems like it makes a lot of sense. But Crawford keeps talking about, oh yeah, if I'm easy work, take the money. He doesn't have to take the Turki money, especially if Turki is saying things he don't like. You had to take the money because promoters were tired of losing money on you. So therefore, you had to go to someone like Turki and Riyadh Season, who would overpay you and I guess show you this love that you felt you didn't get, which is basically overpaying to lose money. That's the reality. I know it makes people mad, but it is what it is. Crawford is in a different situation than Canelo Alvarez. And he's saying, oh, to mess up his legacy if I win and stuff. Yeah, but what if you don't? What does it do for his legacy if he knock you out? Nothing. You know, it doesn't really do anything pro his legacy. So I actually agree with Canelo Alvarez, and I have been agreeing with Canelo Alvarez in this given situation. And I told you that. The reason is Canelo Alvarez, Crawford saying that Canelo keeps fighting smaller people, he's trying to make a point, but he actually proves my point and Canelo's point even more. So Canelo has fought smaller people before, Jose Cito Lopez and all these people. Again, albeit a lot of these fights were different points in his career, some stretching over 10 years ago, like Jose Cito Lopez. I get it. But here's the thing. So people, when he fought these fights like Jose Cito Lopez and Jermell Charlo, we as boxing fans didn't give Canelo credit for it. I know I certainly didn't, because I was like, beating Jose Cito Lopez, a 47-pounder who really was a career 140-pounder, and you're fighting him at 54 or whatever, I'm not giving you a bunch of credit. Same thing with the Jermell Charlo. So Crawford is no different. I wouldn't be impressed with Canelo Alvarez because he can knock out somebody who has no substance, who has no, and I'm saying substance in the division. He has no history in the division. He has no seniority in the division. That's not really that impressive to me. You know, it's just like Teofimo's calling out Crawford. Would you be impressed if Crawford knocked out Teofimo Lopez at 154? Or would you expect it? See, a lot of people, they get mad because they know I'm the best, baby. I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. But what I'm saying, I assure you, if you listen and know how to comprehend, it makes sense. Most people, given Crawford's skill and the fact that he has more fights at 47 and 54, they would favor him to beat Teofimo. Whether it happened or not, Teo keeps calling him out and saying he wants smoke with Crawford. But would you be more impressed with Crawford beating Errol Spence at 47 and beating Madrimov, or beating Teofimo, who would be coming from 140 but really started at like lightweight, and then recently he's been fighting at 40 and he just jumped up 14 pounds to fight at 154? There's a lot of clown stuff in boxing, disrespecting the weight classes. I'm not for it. I think why, if it's like the Royal Rumble and you just pick a weight any weight, why don't we just do it like that then? Then why don't Terence Crawford fight Martin Bacoli if we just scrambling up the weights, and weights don't matter, weight classes don't matter? It just sounds foolish. These guys, it's like almost looking for a shortcut. You want pick'em fights and certain fights much higher but you only want the fight. See, like, I feel like Crawford's looking at it from a selfish angle. He's looking at it from his angle. That's a career high payday, win, lose, or draw for me. I could retire either way off of that. But he's not looking at it from the angle of what does Canelo really get for the risk? And again, he doesn't get anything. He's assuming all the risk. It'll be a David versus Goliath type of story. So even if Crawford got knocked out, but he won 5 rounds or was beating Canelo or something like that, then that would make Canelo look bad. So again, when you're assessing risk, you got to look at it. What name the pro for Canelo? See, it's easy to, when we're talking about David and he's fighting the Goliath, for you to assess the upside for the underdog, which Crawford would be in that situation, given the weight. But you got to look at the favorite and then tell me what they would gain. So would Crawford provide Canelo a type of paycheck that he's never seen before? Absolutely not. They just lost $10 million on the Madrimov fight. His old promoter says, I lose money on every Crawford fight. So he's no Mayweather in that department where he just the cash cow and everything makes sense. So again, if you're not biased and you're truly looking at it with realistic set of lenses, tell me how it would benefit Canelo. Give me 3 good reasons how this fight would benefit Canelo. Oh, but Crawford, he's a Hall of Famer, so that'll be a Hall of Famer. Canelo already got that on his resume. Triple G's a Hall of Famer. Floyd Mayweather's a Hall of Famer. Miguel Cotto's a Hall of Famer. Shane Mosley's a Hall of Famer. So that's not good enough. So let me get this straight. If Canelo were to fight Crawford, it doesn't provide him with a legendary, career best, game-changing purse unless he's requesting like something crazy like 150 million and they give it to him, right? So again, if you're looking at it from Canelo's perspective, what on earth does he get? He doesn't get the craziest purse of his lifetime unless they grant him the crazy numbers he's throwing out, like 150, which Turki said that they can't do that. So he's not getting a game-changing, lifetime-changing purse. He would be fighting a small person where he doesn't get any credit despite how good the person is. Because again, I guarantee you, use my examples. If Gervonta Davis fought Inoue and he leaped up multiple weight classes and Tank knocked Inoue out, because keep in mind, Inoue just got dropped by Luis Nitti in his fight at home in Japan. So who would honestly give credit to Gervonta Davis for knocking out a much smaller guy that didn't move through the ranks and move through the weights and move through the weight ranks gradually? He just in one fell swoop. Nobody. So again, I understand Canelo totally because it literally provides him with not much upside. People won't give him a bunch of credit for the fight. He doesn't need, like, his resume is already crazier. There's nobody in boxing active that got a better resume than Canelo for real. So it's not like he's starving for resume names. He's had belts before. Crawford would be the challenger, so he don't have no belts at 68. Canelo has all the belts but one because he got stripped. So what does Canelo provide? Or actually, what was Crawford and Turki? What do they even provide Canelo? Give me 3 things that they provide. Because I could tell you what it provides for Terence Crawford. I could easily tell you how a win for Crawford would change his world. It would change him in the history books. There's only 2 other guys on paper that have beaten Canelo Alvarez. So he would become the 3rd. So that would be a big accomplishment. Plus, it would look crazy because of the weight class jumping. You know what I mean? So I understand it. And if you don't understand it, because you don't understand boxing, you don't understand the business, and you're probably biased. This fight just doesn't make any sense. And then meanwhile, another reason why I have to go so hard on this is because there's actually fights that do make sense, like Boots who's with DAZN, Crawford, who's basically with DAZN. Why can't we get that? If Turki got all this money and you're not messing with Canelo, okay, give us Boots versus Crawford. Convince Crawford to take that. Make it, make the money right for both fighters where they feel like taking it. That's a huge fight. I'm telling you. And I really don't understand at this point why, after pretty much every possible indication that Canelo and Crawford is not looking likely, Crawford is still talking about Canelo. Oh, he should fight me then. Oh, why don't he take the money? Because he knows I'm a tough fight. And bro, it looks like a pipe dream. It don't look like this fight's going to happen. I don't know why you're so like stubbornly clinging to this. Are you going to keep fighting and fight someone who's more realistic? Because at this stage, with Turki saying we're moving from Canelo laughing at Turki on social media, and them having an exchange of words, Turki saying he's no longer interested and changed his mind, this fight doesn't look likely. And again, based on you losing money in the Madrimov fight and the performance you gave, it was not a good calling card or an audition tape for a Canelo fight 2 divisions higher than what you already moved up to. I'm sorry. You guys want it to be. And to be honest, it never was going to be with a name like Madrimov. But given how the fight actually looked, it made it even worse. If he at least blew out Madrimov, no diddy, or stopped him, maybe you can make the argument, or at least the curiosity side would grow. But everything I've seen, if you look online, is like, I don't know. It made people more skeptical of Crawford moving up that much weight than anything else. If he looked like Superman and just ran through Madrimov, then maybe fans would be like, man, this dude is Superman. What can he do? He can move through all the weight classes and still look the same. But you got to 54 and we seen more friction. Like, imagine like this. Let's say Terence Crawford was doing curls, right? Follow me. Let's say Terence Crawford was doing curls. 25 pounds, he hit that easy. 35 pounds, hitting it easy. 45, hitting it super easy. He's making it look easy. But then if you run the rack in the gym and they have a lot of weights, eventually, per his size, there's going to get to a particular barbell and it's not going to be so easy. Okay, 90, 100, 120, 150. You're going to get to a weight, and Crawford being whatever he weighed, like let's say 150, 155, whatever his walk around weight, it's going to get to a weight like you're not curling 200 pounds, bro. You see what I'm saying? There's going to be some combination of weights you could put on in the gym where I don't care how strong you are, it's going to be too much for you to lift, right? It's that simple. You can say whatever you want, but eventually, like, okay, you were running through the 40s and the 50s, you got all the way to 90, but, keep adding weight to the curl. There's going to be an amount where it's just like, okay, you physically can't lift that. And then if you try to lift it, you might even get injured or tear something or tear your bicep, things like that. And that's just the reality. And that's what it is. Crawford, he's insanely talented. He's gifted. He's very strong. He has ring IQ. But, at some point, people have limits. And Father Time's undefeated. So you're trying to do this. It's not like you're 29, 30 years old and you're just super ambitious. You're like pushing 40 and you're like, oh, I can do this. But the problem is, based on your performance, I don't think that people truly believe the fight is what they might have imagined before the Madrimov fight. That's my honest opinion. So I said what I said, like, it just don't make sense. And people are trying to force this in. They're trying to force a square peg into a round hole, and it just doesn't work. It'd be one thing if they were naturally in the same divisions, but that's not. Just like you have different generations. That's how things play out in boxing. Muhammad Ali, he had his generation. After him came Mike Tyson. So it wasn't feasible to make those two fight because Muhammad Ali was too old by the time Tyson was of age and, 21 and heavyweight champion. And that's just the way the cookie crisp crumbles. And you got people, Bud is still talking about a Canelo fight, and people are telling Crawford to rematch Madrimov. So how could you even sell this fight at this point? Right? How can you sell this fight at this point where people are saying, oh, Madrimov gave you a good fight, you should rematch him. But then you're trying to convince people that you should move up basically 3 divisions because you only have one fight at 54. That's no real seniority. Even though you're a champion, you beat a champion that just became a champion in March. These are the harsh realities. Y'all don't want to admit it, but it is what it is. So I think personally Crawford should just move on. I don't understand this fixation with Canelo Alvarez. Don't look like you're getting the fight. We unpacked.